And now for something completely different.
Forget everything you've been told by others before. Get ready for the real deal, the full story, real talk about money, markets, life. Now, it's The Real Investment Show, presented by RIA Advisors.
Is this thing on? Welcome to Financial Fitness Friday. I'm Rich Rosso, CFP, here with Jonathan McCarty. Back again.
Yes.
Just one more person in the house.
Yeah, great to be back in the show. It gives me a break from being a father. I had a lot of clients who warned me, how much work it was going to be, having a child. And me being the usually overly confident individual that I am, was like, it's not going to be that bad. I was dead wrong. And to all of you guys who warned me, I'm sorry and thank you. I tip my hat to all you parents out there. It is absolutely draining dealing with a newborn.
It's almost as exhausting as dealing with Powell during his news conferences. I understand the baby sometimes better. When the baby goes, I can sort of make sense of that.
Yes.
When Powell comes out and says, well, inflation's coming, it's coming, then I can't make sense of him at all.
Yeah, he did a great job this week in his testimony.
Talking on both sides of his mouth.
The DC dip and twirl, he's mastered it.
We should have a Shado Fed chair soon.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
It all choked up. Well, the S&P 500, listen, we are near an all-time high. Dow Futures 111, 14 points on the S&P, NASDAQ. We have been on a nice trajectory, Jonathan. Remember months ago and the whole world is coming to an end?
The sky was falling.
All the bombastic news headlines that, the market was going to nothing and the world's going to end, and look where we are. It's funny, the trolls that can really predict the economy. All of a sudden, people become economists and telling you that someone unfriended me on Facebook. I said, we don't see a recession. That was like when during the whole storm.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, you got to get your head out of MSNBC and all this other stuff and look at, and this is a good lesson for every investor. We have the particular confirmation bias. We think our view is right. Mm-hmm. You have to read conflicting views. We do that all the time.
That's right.
Like if there's some, the market's going to do this, you got to look at the other side of the coin. It's important as an investor, whether you're with an advisor or doing it on your own, is looking at the other side.
Consume other viewpoints. I think Benjamin Franklin was once quoted for saying you're never going to get the full story from one source. Right? Maybe not exactly that, but to that effect, basically. You can't read one newspaper
and think
you're getting
before or
the
after
full,
he was frolicking with 18-year-old French women.
or the kite in a field.
Yeah. Listen, you can have a lot of sage thoughts with that kite flying around.
Yeah.
When it's nice and quiet. You never know. So listen, we are 3 tiny points away from February time high of 6,144. So looks good. PCE inflation month over month expected 0.1. Year over year, 2.3, expected 2.1, core PCE. We're going to see where this stands. I will tell you, people are not happy. The University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Study, I always worry about the political bias in these consumer sentiment studies.
Yeah.
Because, listen, it's not the greatest economy. It hasn't been for a very long time. But the bathwater is certainly lukewarm. I mean, that we need to have more of a trajectory. We need to get through this tax bill. We need to see how clear that is when we go through it. I'm not confident we get it done by 4th of July. I think the Senate's going to be a bit of an obstacle.
That's a bit of a short runway. Yeah,
it is. But what we know is the market loves certainty, right?
Yeah.
It can deal with what you give it. Just give it. And be clear about it. And I have a feeling, too, obviously Powell's tenure is up in May of 2026. We'll start to see this armchair quarterbacking in a more academic manner, depending on who Trump picks. And that voice or this Shado Fed saying, well, we should have done this, we should have done that, is going to get clearer. Mm-hmm. And I think markets will start paying attention to it around the summer or the fall, where we won't listen to Powell anymore, really. and we will listen to whoever this Shado Fed is. It'll be setting the table for what the market's going to expect.
Yeah.
I really hope, personally, it's Kevin Hassett. I think Scott Bessent's best in the White House. I think Kevin Hassett has a really good feel for taxes, and he's a student of all of this.
Yeah.
So I think he would be a really good choice. Very level-headed, affable guy, but smart. I think that would be a good force. So I'm waiting to see. Supposedly, we're going to get some news shortly.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to get someone in there who's going to be a little more preemptive than what we've seen at Powell. Traditionally, the Fed has been very reactive, waiting for data to come out to support those types of movements. But things are changing so rapidly, that typically puts you behind the ball.
Well, when he says that tariffs are going to be inflationary, and then someone asks when, and he goes soon, it's sort of like when? Give us what? How long do we need to go?
Yeah.
So there is absorption of tariffs along the way. It's not just the consumer that shoulders the burden of tariffs. And again, I'm not a big fan. I understand why they're being used. But what I'm saying is you can't get so over the top with these headlines. The latest study that I saw on inflation expectations, Democrats expect inflation to be back at 9%, although they seemed fine with 9% in the previous administration. And Republicans at 2%. So when you look at consumer sentiment and how unhappy people are with the market and wars and all that, you really wonder, broken out by party, what that looks like.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain partisan element to people's support of where we're at with the economy and status quo.
Yeah. I know Lance does a lot of diffusion analysis to try to wring that out, which is great for the numbers, because I always do worry about how polluted these numbers have gotten based on political bias.
Yeah.
If I answer, and if I've never really had an opportunity to be part of these surveys, but if it were me, I'd be looking at it not from a political lens. I'd be looking at it practically, Yeah. But I think people just, that's the focus now. It's so myopic on politics. You can't, it bleeds into everything.
It does.
And I don't even think it has anything really to do with Trump. He's gone, someone else is in. That person gets vilified if it's a Republican. The point is, we're going to live in this world for a while. And we got to have to navigate markets in a bipartisan, objective manner. And that's our job.
Yeah.
And frankly, I have to tell you, Jonathan, when I hear some stuff, and I even hear clients that are either very liberal or very Republican, they are so set in that I got to tone down the exuberance on one side and pull people out of the bunker on the other side.
Yeah.
And that's what your financial advisor should do.
Not an easy task.
Huh?
Not an easy task.
No. The more bipartisan we get, the harder it is for your advisor, and the tougher it is for you to make money if you're following those political winds. We get back, we're going to continue on some stuff, but the main theme of the show today is, listen, annuities are not the enemy. Whoopi Goldberg, maybe, is your enemy, but not annuities. When we get back.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Declare your financial independence from the mainstream financial media and join us for the next RIA Candid Coffee with Danny Ratliff and Lance Roberts, Saturday, June 28th. Know the enemies of your wealth and fight them on your terms. We'll arm you with the information you need. Register today for the Financial Independence Edition of Candid Coffee, Saturday, June 28th. With Ratliff and Roberts at realinvestmentadvice.com. Realinvestmentadvice.com.
Attention Chevron employees and anyone else receiving or considering a company severance package. We know the process can be intimidating. What should you know to maximize your payout? Lump sum or pension annuity, retirement plan rollover or not? What about tax timing your severance? The fiduciary advisors at RIA Advisors can help you make the best decisions for your situation. Call us today at 855-742-7526. That's 855-742-PLAN. Or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
RIA Advisors Research is the envy of the industry. Our economic insights are featured on advisorperspectives.com, Fox Business, and MarketWatch. RIA provides advisors with marketing and back office support, objective research, and holistic, cutting-edge financial planning tools to meet your clients' needs. Want to join a winning team and be part of a fiduciary culture where you can do your best work? Then why haven't you contacted us yet? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors. Big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Manage risk and volatility rather than trying to manage gains. You don't have to be right all the time. Long-term investing success is a 70% gain. Let us help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors. 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
You know, so I'll just talk about Powell a second. So continuing claims rose Thursday. We see the labor market absolutely cooling. It's not bad, but it's also not what it was. And there was a great article in the Wall Street Journal talking about, there was a period of time after COVID where employees had the upper hand. But that is no more. Matter of fact, it's dead with a vengeance. Because when you look at employers, they have a lot of these big companies, and they are saying, we're going to have a smaller human footprint going forward.
Yeah.
We're using AI. If you are a liability, or you're not using AI to be productive, you are out. So Procter & Gamble's talking about, we're going to let 7,000 people go. Before we hire anybody, we're going to do an AI screen. So like those days of hiding out in a cubicle going, what does John actually do? All day?
I'm under the spotlight now,
Not you,
Rich.
John Penn. Not you, Jonathan McCarty. But I'm just saying is, in larger companies, you can hide.
Yes.
We had those at my former company. It's like, this guy's like a roach.
Oh, yeah.
Like if the whole company went under, this guy would pop out of a cubicle. Like
Still collecting a paycheck.
what does he do? So AI is exposing that.
Absolutely.
So companies are in control again.
Yeah,
AI has given them that. But you can take advantage of it if you're a good worker.
Yeah.
And find ways to employ it. Then you're probably going to keep your job. And not only that, you're going to get paid well. So it's not in the article they were talking about, listen, we'll pay people well that are pulling their weight.
Yeah.
And changing with us and doing that. We don't care about that. We'd rather, that'll be fine. But you're dead weight, you're gone.
Well, and that's the whole premise behind
know.
technology improvements is to increase efficiency of your workforce, right?
Yeah,
So
and
if
there's a
you're able to utilize
subsegment of
that-
Gen Z that wears a shirt that says, I'm proud of being dead weight.
Yeah.
So, dead weight and proud. We got a new rally coming.
There we go.
So it is going to be interesting because I also think that these claims numbers and other employment numbers we're going to see, and I was waiting for Powell to talk about AI, and nothing.
Yeah.
AI is going to have an effect.
Big time. I mean, within 2 years, we're going to see drastic improvements.
And change. I mean,
Yeah.
things that will sort of unnerve us. I read an article today in the Wall Street Journal about how you'll be able to do a mortgage through AI. You won't even need anybody.
No.
You'll be able to open a bank account, make a transaction. There'll be a whole banking system with one AI system talking to another.
Yeah.
And you cut everybody out of that.
All the middlemen are gone. That's
That should be disinflationary.
Moore's law, talks about the fact that technology capacity doubles every 18 months, right? And that's exponential growth when you're looking at AI. So consider what we use now. I mean,
Yep.
you can make deep fake videos of, the Pope flying through heaven with Jesus. And now imagine what that capability is going to be in another 2 years. It's going to be
They
staggering.
have the creepiest AI. Some of it is frightening. like they have this one where it's like they go into a nursing home and all these old people have different types of limbs and stuff, and they're morphing into other figures, and their eyes are popping out. And I mean, some of the AI stuff is off the charts crazy.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's like even in our industry, how AI is moving so quickly,
Very quickly.
and how I'm trying to just grasp at what I think is going to work for us. It's exciting. It's exciting. It's a little scary.
Yeah.
But, you're not, to your point, you're not going to be able to fight it.
No. Get on board or get left behind.
But my gosh, like I went through 432 pages of the House bill, tax bill. I read it. I actually like a lot of what's in it. And then I ran it through AI. And I'm like, I did it wrong. Because the AI took 432 pages down to 10. So we can replace Congress with AI. I mean, it sounds appealing.
Some of the
No
personalities.
political bias. Just follow the law.
Yeah.
We follow the law, both sides. Man, that would be amazing.
We'd have efficient governance. Are you serious?
Yeah. We got to keep Christine home, though. It's just a personal thing. So we want to talk about annuities. No, we're not selling you an annuity. We're looking at the concept of annuity and what it is and how people are always afraid of them. And frankly, that's a lot of our fault. But the reason we're talking about it is life expectancy. You talk about AI, Jonathan. AI in healthcare is absolutely astounding.
Yeah.
Like even some of the blood tests that I take that and genetic codes that what could happen to me down the road, what I'm susceptible to based on my markers. That's just the elementary level of where blood tech is going to go. When you send your blood work in and AI analyzes it, you're going to get kidney cancer in 10 years. Here's what you could do now. Like you have the gene. It's dormant. Imagine people that never know they have any formation of pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, all portends AI is going to help you live longer.
It is.
Right? So I know you have this about researchers from institutions in U.S. and Canada looked at records, 179 million deaths between 1969 and 2020. The one thing as we go through this is remember, annuities are a way to mitigate longevity risk.
That's right.
But yet everybody knows when they're going to die. I am amazed, as I always say on this show. How do you know? And it always goes back to, well, my mom did this. My mom lived till this. My dad lived till this. Well, my next question is usually, what do you think contributed to that within their lifestyle?
That's right.
Yeah, well, they were smokers. They were heavy drinkers. What about your lifestyle? Oh, I don't smoke. I never got into it. I drink once a month or okay. So okay. My point is, you can live a lot longer than your parents.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of that, we used to put a lot of emphasis on what your family medical history, but Oxford recently came out with an article talking about that your lifestyle and your environment has more of an impact on your longevity than anything else.
I think there was a point like up until like those people that lived to 190 in their late 90s, they say there's some genetic code to that part of it.
Yeah.
But up to that part, as you just said, go ahead.
Correct,
lifestyle and
their studies show that 17% of your ability to live longer was based off of environmental and lifestyle factors versus only 2%, which was attributed to genetics. So that's a pretty significant difference, and I think that people are discounting their own habits and their own good or bad routine and how much of an impact that's going to have on their ability to outlive their expectations.
And obviously what this study shows, listen, there are going to be certain locations that life expectancy is not going to change or improve.
Well, and demographics has a big part of that as well. Income level is a big part of it. Obviously, people who have higher incomes are quicker to go and seek medical care when needed. I know that people who are on the lower end of the income bracket, you hear these horror stories about people who die from not getting the insulin injections because they couldn't afford the medication. That right there is clearly something that's drawing that trend downward. You also have to consider what states you're living in. There was a study that was put out recently by Science Alert showing that depending on if you are a man or a woman, you could end up living 10 years longer if you lived in a specific state or region of the country versus if you lived in perhaps the South. Right, so life expectancy in the South hasn't really changed much over the last 50 years.
Yeah, like Mississippi, West Virginia, Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee. Well, you got to stop frying everything, including shoes. Everything tastes good for us, like Homer Simpson.
Listen, don't take away my deep fried Snickers bars at the fair, okay?
Those are good. Listen, everything in moderation, right?
Correct.
Like when I go to the Texas State, I love Texas State Fair. I was there the year what's his name, Tex, burned down.
Really?
He had a fire in his pants. I'm like, what's that smoke? He's gassy.
Must have been the hot sauce.
Hey, that's what I'm thinking. Texas is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, whatever you can fry or put together, it's going to be the worst possible thing. So what I usually do is I narrow it down to what I like what I want to try, and then I'll eat part of it. I won't even eat the whole thing.
Test it out.
Test it out.
Test the waters.
I'm just testing. And I can pull away knowing that I might die at the end of the fair if I eat all this. I wonder how many people try everything at the fair and then before they walk out, it's over.
They stop by the stint tent on their way out the door.
I think they need to do that.
We got you guys there, yeah.
Yes. I could just see that. The stint tent.
Yeah.
Stint tent.
Perfect.
Tent. Yeah, perfect.
Let's open that up, Rich. That's a new business model. But no, it comes down to a number of factors. And, there's a number of different studies that come out and support this argument. The Lancet came out with a study talking about how, education level is also a good indicator of your life expectancy. And individuals who are college graduates versus individuals who have never graduated high school, there's a 10-year gap in their life expectancy. Now, I think all of these studies kind of interrelate because, generally speaking, if you did go through higher education, you may also be in a higher income bracket. You may also be living in a major metropolitan area, which increases your longevity as well. So these are all factors people need to consider when they're looking at how to manage out their income needs for retirement.
So you can imagine how AI can help many of these southern states or doctors to help people with their lifestyles.
Yeah.
It's still the same old-fashioned advice.
Yeah.
But maybe there's ways that AI can help people guide them in their food choices. And so at least they make, what I notice about the human body is you don't need to make a big change to get exponential results in your health. Right.
Small
Look at people
incremental
that have
changes.
A1C, like type 2 diabetes, right? They're at 9, A1C and all that. And all of a sudden they just shift their lifestyle a little bit. They're not even on drugs yet. They shift it and they're down to 6.
Yeah.
It's your body will respond if you do that. But this is really one of the greatest risks you have as an investor is longevity risk. And that's where making smart decisions with Social Security and annuities, why annuities are not the enemy, is what we're going to hit up in the next segment. We'll be right back.
The Real Investment Advice blog. It's required reading for the informed investor. Catch it today at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Declare your financial independence from the mainstream financial media and join us for the next RIA Candid Coffee with Danny Ratliff and Lance Roberts, Saturday, June 28th. Know the enemies of your wealth and fight them on your terms. We'll arm you with the information you need. Register today for the Financial Independence Edition of Candid Coffee, Saturday, June 28th with Ratliff and Roberts at realinvestmentadvice.com. Realinvestmentadvice.com.
If you're working and looking to retire soon, a Medicare special enrollment period is in your future. Understanding Medicare choices, enrollment deadlines, and costs are essential to your overall standard of living in retirement. The wrong choices can cost you thousands in penalties. Make sense of Medicare's alphabet soup with RIA Advisors online resources and one-on-one partners to help secure the healthcare insurance choice that is right for your lifestyle and budget and avoid gaps in coverage. Click on the insurance tab at realinvestmentadvice.com today. realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
Are you a financial advisor sneaking peeks at our stuff? Instead of trying to do it all yourself, why not just join the team at RIA Advisors? Our full-service organization can provide you with the support, unparalleled research, and tools for managing your clients' money and honoring the fiduciary pledge of putting clients' best interest first. Don't take our word for it. Talk to the advisors that work with us. Want to come win with us? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors, big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
Can't catch the whole show now? Listen to our podcast later at realinvestmentadvice.com.
My wife's traveling. She's in Quebec right now for work. She called me up. She goes, everybody speaks French up here. I go, yes, honey. They're a French colony. She goes, I never knew that.
The Real Investment Show podcast. Same show, your schedule.
So the company that she's with took her out to dinner last night. They go to this very nice French restaurant. The appetizer comes out, which is bagua. She goes, that's duck liver, isn't it? Yeah, the rest of the dinner was downhill right from there. So
At realinvestmentadvice.com.
And the only thing that made it better was when they brought the snails out.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Bulls win in bull markets. Bears win in bear markets. Eagles soar above and take advantage of opportunity. Let us help you soar as you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
Attention Chevron employees and anyone else receiving or considering a company severance package. We know the process can be intimidating. What should you know to maximize your payout? Lump sum or pension annuity, retirement plan rollover or not? What about tax timing your severance? The fiduciary advisors at RIA Advisors can help you make the best decisions for your situation. Call us today at 855-742-7526. That's 855-742-PLAN. Or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show YouTube channel has all our videos ready for your easy access. Now with the new and improved Before the Bell report. Subscribe and bookmark our YouTube channel at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
That sounds like the theme from the Munsters.
It does.
You know what I was listening to on the way in? I got to get Jonathan out of this conversation because he's going to have no idea who it is. The Cowsills.
Really?
Yeah. People don't realize the Cowsills, family band, you know, kids with the tambourines, that was the inspiration for the Partridge Family.
Really?
But they were amazingly harmonious. This family is mesmerizing in how they sing. But when I was little, I always liked on the radio they would play a lot of the Cowsill stuff. So I was listening. I said, I got to get in a better mood, man. There's no better band to put me in a better mood. Tambourine, ching, ching, ching. You know, I'm there, man. I'm living in the 70s and I'm going back. So it's okay. I saw my daughter the other day. She has jeans and they're the wide bell bottoms. I'm like, oh my gosh, this shit's coming back. I mean, stuff's coming back. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Doobie Brothers have a new album out.
I know you played a
They're
little.
still
before.
alive?
Oh, baby.
They
Oh, man.
sound. The Doobie Brothers sound better than ever.
Really?
Yeah. And the music is not. They're not. You'll know it's them, but they have definitely a contemporary sound to them. Like they found their way to master not making it sound like old Doobie Brothers, but yet it does. Yeah. No, I downloaded it. It's great.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
The only two things missing. Skunk Baxter's not on it,
Oh yeah.
and there's no twin drum kits.
Okay.
But other than that,
I wonder if Chicago has made any new albums. I remember they were doing that for a while, and I guess they stopped.
They outsourced it to the Russians.
Oh, that's right. Those Russian group. That sounds just like them. Man, when I was a kid, I loved Chicago. Chicago was the sound of New York in the mid-'70s.
I was a Boston man myself.
Boston? Yeah, baby.
Hey,
Yeah, Boston was great.
I've got some classical music taste.
No, that's... well, that for Jonathan, that is. So you can't argue with that.
Subtle dig there, guys. Sorry about that, fellas.
I mean, you talk to our interns and you look at them and you go, "Hi, do you know Paul McCartney?" And they give you that stare.
Yep.
The Beatles, stare. Rolling Stones, yeah, I think I heard of them. Yeah. So it is what I... Listen.
The Beatles was McCartney's old backup group.
Yeah. That was,
Yeah,
that was what they were.
before Wings.
So I love history. So I showed Brent one of the books on Texas history I bought. It's 732 pages.
Wow.
Like the box gave me a hernia when I got it in from Amazon.
How many of those pages are devoted to the Alamo?
Oh, I bet I haven't gone through. I mean, I was like going, oh my gosh, how much time do I need to read this? I got to really station myself and figure out how am I going to get through this book? And I cannot believe the guy who wrote it, put in all that effort. So I'm really excited to read it. So,
Are there pictures?
yes, there are a lot of photos.
Good.
Great photos. Yep. So we have, by the way, Saturday, June 28th, 8 a.m., we are doing our financial independence. This is Lance and Danny, because Danny is there to corral Lance. Know the enemies of your wealth and fight them on your terms. I think what's going to be great about this candid coffee, well, first of all, when Lance does it, we get a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? And that's great. But with the state of where things are and where markets are there to absolutely confound you and take you to your knees, because you think you know what's going to happen, but you don't. All the data we crunch, all the things that we do in-house, there'll be a lot of questions, and we'll get a really good feel for things. And, of course, address your questions on, I think Danny's going to share some updates on, hey, listen, there are a lot of wealthy clients. How do they do it? Super savers,
Yeah.
How do people do this? Matter of fact, I can argue, and as we get into this conversation about annuities, I can argue that the greatest risk, and I'm writing another piece right now, based on David Blanchett's study, that people with guaranteed income spend more.
Yeah.
There is chronic, and we use a program to help people with this, but the most chronic condition I see with retirees is underspending.
Yeah.
And psychologically, that makes a lot of sense to me, right? Because if my portfolio, if I was in the depths of what we just went through, right, in markets, even though if you had a balanced portfolio, you survived it just fine. It doesn't matter. Just the sound of that and hearing people talk and the world's coming to an end.
Yeah.
Gosh, do I really want to take out this $50,000 for the year that I usually take?
Yeah.
Or am I going to cut back?
Should I rein this in?
Right. Even though you talk to us and we say, you're fine, don't worry about it, right? Your plan works. Psychologically, people will hold back. As opposed to me getting a check every month and knowing the next month after I'm going to get another check. So if I spend all of it, who cares?
Yeah.
So people that have most of their money in variable assets like stocks and bonds, and they don't have, say, pension income and or annuity income to counterbalance it, they're gonna spend less.
That's right.
And I understand why. And I think part of the reason is people don't like the words spend down. It sounds scary.
Yeah.
They want that tree of fruit to stay forever. But as you pick it, the tree produces less fruit and the tree possibly gets smaller. That doesn't mean the tree is dead. But people don't understand that in 10 years, you may not have the same balance if you're on a spend down plan versus legacy.
Yeah.
Like if I want $1 million, I want that $1 million, and nobody's considering even inflation. But let's just say I want this $1 million in 30 years to be there. Well, if I'm on a spend down plan and I don't have a legacy, why?
Yeah.
My life expectancy is running out. My money should be running out too. I don't want to die with the most funds. That's not the job. But people think that way with when they have solely stocks and bonds, don't they?
They do, and they also think, well, I'm going to save this money until later in retirement when I feel like I have enough. But by that point, you miss out on the opportunity to spend that money. Think about
you miss that active part of retirement,
correct,
right?
the go-go years, exactly. If you don't have the energy or the physical capacity to go and enjoy all those things that were on your bucket list until you're absolutely sure that bucket is about to be kicked here in the next few years, you may not be able to utilize all those funds you worked so hard to save.
Now you got $1 million and you're 90. You go, I should have taken that vacation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, withdrawal rates fluctuate. They
do.
It's not 4%. It's not 2%. It's not 1. It could be 10 for a period. It could be 7. Could be down to 2. It varies with your life and what stage you're in retirement. And what I think annuities do, and this is why, again, they're not your enemy, is they smooth some of that psychological stress you have, right? So some rule of guideline, you got to figure out how much secure income do I want in my portfolio as a percentage of assets?
Yeah.
What's the number? Do I want 50%? I always think that, the number should be higher. But there are people that are fine with that. But that does mean I have a risk that they're going to underspend.
Yes.
The problem we have with annuities, and that's why you have to have Ken Fisher out there, how much he hates them. Ken Fisher doesn't need an annuity. He's got more money than 500,000 households. He doesn't need it. You might. The industry has created the problem.
Yes.
By just selling annuities, not knowing somebody's situation, knowing whether they need one or not. I think that's been one of the biggest problems. They are sold. They are not planned. What do you think?
Yeah, that's exactly what I hear from clients. When you talk about annuities, it feels like a 4-letter word. And then you ask people what their experience was with annuities and why they feel this way. Mm-hmm. And they talk about, this broker called me and said, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, sold me this product, didn't really explain it, and then never spoke to me again. I think that's where it can create a really bad experience for somebody who would otherwise have benefited from incorporating this into their overall financial plan, but without adequate planning and forecasting, you're basically being sold to by one-shot Johnnies.
Right. So no one is looking at, say, for example, holistic financial planning to see whether or not you need the annuity. Also, longevity risk. We use Living to 100, but your advisor needs to know a little bit about your lifestyle, the age of your spouse, your health of your spouse. So when you have annuities or, deferred or immediate, it takes the stress. You got to think of annuities as a way to take the stress off portfolios when they might not be performing as well.
That's right.
That's also one thing you got to keep in mind. So I always tell people it's like two runners. You're going to have some years where your guaranteed income runner is going to beat the heck out of your stocks and bonds, and then you're going to have years where it's the other way.
Yeah, tortoise in the hair.
If your valuations where they are now, and we expect lower returns over the next market cycle, over the next decade, then remember that runner might be far behind, and your Social Security, your pension, maybe some annuities you have, will provide the guaranteed income to allow that other runner to heal. We had clients during the financial crisis. Well, they had pension income. They had life insurance policies. What we did was we said, listen, and we weren't down that much. Lance and I were talking back in 2006, thinking something really onerous was happening with these AAA securities. That how the hell did you get to AAA? What kind of financial Frankenstein alchemy did you create to make this AAA? Well, this tier is garbage. And, so...
It's called bribes.
We're going to continue this when we get back. But just give me an idea of, how do you place annuities? What's the right way to look at them without getting so angry? You're so angry, like that woman on 45 with the gun yesterday, sitting in her chair. Sitting in her lawn chair like Clint Eastwood, man. Come on.
In the rain.
In the rain. She just did not give up. We'll be right back.
Daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Declare your financial independence from the mainstream financial media and join us for the next RIA Candid Coffee with Danny Ratliff and Lance Roberts, Saturday, June 28th. Know the enemies of your wealth and fight them on your terms. We'll arm you with the information you need. Register today for the Financial Independence Edition of Candid Coffee, Saturday, June 28th with Ratliff and Roberts at realinvestmentadvice.com. realinvestmentadvice.com.
RIA Advisors Research is the envy of the industry. Our economic insights are featured on advisorperspectives.com, Fox Business, and MarketWatch. RIA provides advisors with marketing and back office support, objective research, and holistic, cutting-edge financial planning tools to meet your clients' needs. Want to join a winning team and be part of a fiduciary culture where you can do your best work? Then why haven't you contacted us yet? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors. Big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
The Real Investment Show.
Attention Chevron employees and anyone else receiving or considering a company severance package. We know the process can be intimidating. What should you know to maximize your payout? Lump sum or pension annuity, retirement plan rollover or not? What about tax timing your severance? The fiduciary advisors at RIA Advisors can help you make the best decisions for your situation. Call us today at 855-742-7526. That's 855-742-PLAN. Or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. A passive investment portfolio requires active risk management. It's not a choice, it's necessity. Diversification doesn't protect against risk of loss. Let us actively help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
And we're back. The job of your financial advisor is not to be partial to one product or investment strategy or vehicle. You can have a favorable investment strategy, like our philosophy, and if you agree with that, that's fine. Maybe you don't, and you go and you look at, hey, listen, I'm just buying whole. That's fine too. But you also got to remember, sometimes you got to look at, when it's your own holistic financial planning, that people look at the portfolio. That's what they think of as financial planning. I tell people that's the easy part.
Yeah.
I don't think the portfolio is the difficult part. Sorry, Lance. I don't. I think the toughest part is actually making sure people can hit their goals.
Yeah.
What risks are around the corner that lurk that can destroy you? So it doesn't matter what stock you own. If financial disaster is something that could be imminent for you, right? And you're not mitigating risk properly. Right?
Controlling those unknown variables.
Yeah, as best as you can.
That's right.
Right? And one of those, again, is longevity risk.
Yep.
And you don't know how long you're going to live. And if you're dead, who cares? What if you live? And that's the question I'll give people. I know when I'm going to die. Well, what if you're wrong? What if you live? What if your wife lives longer than... what about that?
That's why I had kids, Rich. So I'll be knocking on my son's door.
CP opens it.
Yeah, that is a real risk, and it's a real risk for a lot of
Dad's
individuals.
here, his diapers is loaded. Put him out in the yard. That's what you're going to get.
One thing I really appreciate about my own mom, she's worked in the healthcare industry her whole career, and she's always been very upfront and told me, I don't want you changing my diapers when I'm old. So that should only go one direction, and it should be parent to child. It should never be child to parent. And so, we are planning ahead for that potential eventuality. But that kind of goes back to what you were talking about, Rich, where people who are retirees are hesitant to spend down their funds. One of the causes for that is concerns around long-term care needs or outliving those assets. And so, annuities can help to kind of bridge that gap. I know we were talking a little bit about how long-term care policies a few days ago. In fact, we were talking about how long-term care insurance can now be integrated with annuity contracts so that you're not just giving up those premiums without any type of return. You're going to have at least some type of income stream generated from the funds you're dedicating, but also have that safety net that if you need them for something like the long-term care, that policy has a feature that will allow for that.
Yep. All I'm saying is, to your point, and a lot of people, like your mom said, I don't want you doing that.
Yeah.
That's why people say, why do I need long-term care insurance? Well, maybe you don't.
Yeah.
Right? The whole goal of insurance, annuity is an insurance product. Okay, that's what it is. It's designed to provide a check for life. You may not need that check for life. You might maximize Social Security, have enough assets, your lifestyle is reasonable. The goal of your advisor is to say you don't need it. Your goal as an advisor is to also be very precision-based if you do need it. Not that annuities are the best thing since sliced bread. They're sort of a necessary evil. If you don't have a pension, that pension can be created.
Yes.
You create it. You don't get oversold it, because we see, like you said, people get sold the product, the salesperson disappears.
Yeah.
Not only that, they get hit with all these riders that they don't understand. And some riders are, important. It's almost very precision-like. Some riders are not needed.
Yeah.
And you could tell, to me, sometimes they're sales gimmicky. I'm
Yes.
like, we're not paying for that. Some riders, like say income riders, could be helpful to boost income. So if someone's in a plan going to run out of money before they run out of life, at least they know if they make the proper Social Security decision and annuity decision, they will always have a check coming in.
That's right.
So the annuities that get a bad rap because of the industry and how they're placed.
Yeah.
The beauty of an independent or fiduciary is to say, you absolutely don't need this annuity. You absolutely don't need this long-term care insurance. But if I have, say, for example, let's throw in, I have a lot of clients that'll say, listen, Rich, if I have money left, great. The kids get it. And I said, well, that's great. Listen, you're not going to be a burden on them, right? You feel good that you'll be able to be independent and remain that way, right? But what if, say, for example, there are risks that you haven't insured properly?
Yeah.
Then insurance can work. People say, well, I can pay all that money for long-term care insurance and then I don't use it. Well, your whole goal is you hope you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
And I understand the industry comes out with all these products to make it easier. I own a hybrid policy, right? So I know that if I pay the money in and I don't use it, the premiums go to my daughter.
Yeah,
as a beneficiary, death benefit.
Yep.
That's fine. As long as you're doing something to mitigate the risk that you might have that has come up with you and your advisor. Yeah. Annuities can help with longevity risk. And again, very crafted to what you need. Although Roger Ibbotson, the granddaddy of the chart you see when you go to your broker, is like, look at this 100-year chart. Stocks never lose money. Right? That's what I call the vampire chart, because I can buy stocks in 1886 and never sell them. Those are the people who really make that money. That chart has been used and abused more than any other chart. And I don't think that was Mr. Ibbotson's intent. It was just to show you resiliency of markets over time.
Yeah.
You're not going, that's not you. You're not even if you're going to live 100 years, you're not investing for 100 years.
You're not an endowment.
You're not.
Right.
Did you say something about my endowment? Yeah, no. So that you have to keep in mind. So you got to be reasonable in your approach. So when you look at longevity risk in your family, you have to say, gosh, how do I do this? What do I put together? There's all these annuities. But Roger Ibbotson comes out with a study and says, listen, sometimes fixed indexed annuities can actually be better than bonds.
Yeah.
Great study. I have it coming out in a blog next week. This is an older study. It came out in 2018. But the point why I'm revisiting this is because it is such a great study where here's someone who's using annuities surgically to say if valuations are going to be higher and bonds are not going to be attractive, you can ladder fixed indexed annuities that are tied to the performance of a market index.
With downside protection.
Yep. And in some cases, it could be more effective.
Yep.
But people say, gosh, it's so complicated. It's not really that complicated. It's maybe you need to understand them as best you can.
And another great option for annuities, even for people who have a pension. In fact, I just did this for another client. She had a pension with a large oil company, and we ran a comparison with an annuity product with one of those income riders you mentioned, Rich. Mm-hmm. And for the same lump sum that she could have taken out of her pension, actually beat out the pension payment she would be eligible for at 65 by almost $2,000 a year.
So say that again. So now you do the analysis.
Right.
Because it's lump sum.
Right.
Or annuity with the company. I mean,
correct.
The pension.
Within the pension.
And generally speaking, that pension has tended to be attractive. But you went out and looked at, okay, let's compare.
Let's just do our due diligence.
Because it's good. So let's think about the concept of pension. That's a good concept.
It is.
Most people, I believe a lot of the crisis we have in retirement right now is because we don't have them anymore.
Yeah.
Social Security was supposed to be an adjunct to, not the pension that it's become. So then you say, okay, you're going to get X amount per month based on your payout, your settlement, right? What kind of payout you're going to take.
Take the lump sum now.
Survivor, or you're going to take this lump sum now. Mm-hmm. And then you looked at another
annuity contract.
And the payout was better.
By over $2,000 a year.
And I haven't seen, that's something fairly new, because a lot of times it was really tough to beat what that pension number was.
Well, and it also takes the risk away from having so much of your retirement concentrated in one company. You hear these headlines about pensions being adjusted downward for a lot of major companies. And,
that's right.
She was particularly concerned about the future of oil. We've seen a huge push to go with more energy efficient options. And is oil going to be as dramatic of an impact in our economy in 25 years? I mean, that's tough to call. Think about how important horses were before, the automobile.
Absolutely. And the whole world was going to come to an end, right?
Right.
When we didn't have the horse and buggy.
Right.
We should go back to the horse and buggy. I think that would be better off.
Classy.
Yeah. Smart thinking. She also realizes that she does want a pension.
Yes.
And I totally, wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah.
Every advisor is going to have their own metric based on the profile of the investor. In other words, some investors are really good. They're not underspenders. They're not overspenders. They're pretty healthy. Maybe 50% of their retirement dollars are secure income. But the people that I know are chronic underspenders, I try to get that number up to maybe 75, 80% secure income, because I know they're not going to be able to have a sandwich or a steak. My clients know who I'm talking about because they listen to the show. Let the man have a steak once in a while, because it makes sense. You spent your whole life saving.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to now pick the fruit off that tree. If I have that check coming in every month from guaranteed income, and I can set up auto withdrawals out of my retirement accounts, you get to open up. But through times of turbulence, you're glad you have the annuity or pension, Social Security income, maximize your Social Security so that, oh gosh, if I don't want to touch these variable assets, I don't have to. Last thing is, if you have a legacy, even more important, because you're going to try to preserve those assets.
Correct.
Which means insurance or annuities can really help you to keep most of that estate intact. That's all we got. Listen, futures are still up. S&P futures 21, NASDAQ futures 99. Financial independence, June 28th. Sign up for the Candid Coffee Lance and Danny show. It's in the morning, 8 a.m. Central Time, before you start your day. Sign up at realinvestmentadvice.com. All right. We'll see you all soon. Have a great and safe weekend.